Hi there, meteorologist Ed Valley here, taking a look at South America. We're doing these on Mondays through the month of November. They will become even more frequent, obviously, as we get deeper into the South American growing season. And we're starting here. We're looking at rainfall last 7 days. This starts at 7 a.m. a week ago and ends 7 a.m. this morning. And, I really wanted to start with this because I get a lot of questions just kind of asking for a quick checkup. How are things looking over the last few weeks? How are we shaping up moving forward, right? And I wanted to start with this because we're looking at Argentina. Obviously, a lot of their production stems from northern Buenos Aires up into Cordoba and parts of southwestern Santa Fe. And we even have, fringe acres here, southern Buenos Aires, Entre Rios, northern Santa Fe, and Santiago del Estero. That area does produce, even northern La Pampa produces, right? So Cordoba is really the main focus, right, in northern Buenos Aires. So looking and using that information, we can confidently say that a lot of that region here did see good rainfall. Now, I'm actually going to change the color of my cursor so you can see it a little better. There it is. Right in here. Got hit very hard with rainfall last 7 days. Great moisture in a lot of spots. Again, fringe acres to the east, not as good, obviously, but a lot of areas doing quite well here in Argentina over the last 7 days. And then you move up into Brazil. And you notice here in Brazil, kind of the same deal. I mean, a lot of good moisture in central Brazil, not uncommon for this time of the year. Central Brazil, no worries at all. Now, the further south you go, the drier it's been. So southern and central Mato Grosso do Sul down into Paraná and Santa Catarina and parts of northern Rio Grande do Sul. These areas more spotty, but even this saw decent rainfall this weekend. And looking at the last 30 days, you can really tell that area is doing just fine. Paraná into parts of Santa Catarina. Really, it's just Rio Grande do Sul that's been the driest over the last 30 days, and Argentina as well. Now, this does not include all of the rain that has fallen over the weekend. This only goes, if I pan the view to the left, you can see this ends on the 30th, so that would have been Saturday. So it does not include all the rain this weekend. So just something to keep in mind. Now, going back to Brazil real quick, you can tell first crop corn is spread out, right? It's spread out pretty good. And a lot of that dry spot of parts of Rio Grande do Sul, that's 20% of production, right? Now, obviously, Mato Grosso is a big soybean hotbed, and up north, they've been doing just fine. So I just wanted to touch on that. And, moving forward here, I'm going to largely talk operationally about the next 7 to 10 days. We will touch on the long range as well. But the key here to start the week, we had storms today in Argentina, so that'll be reported in tomorrow's report. Additional storms possible Tuesday north. You can see those kind of moving right across into parts of Rio Grande do Sul. And then it's really just scattered stuff through the remainder of the week until we get to Thursday. Thursday, Friday could be another cluster of significant rainfall. And when you look through Friday, here's the amounts. This is the new GFS. Pretty solid rainfall. Again, keeping in mind, if I zoom in here, about what is important, right? What part is important? It's northern Buenos Aires, Cordoba, parts of Entre Rios. That is where we want that rain, and that's where the model is saying it's going to rain, right? Now, up into parts of Mato Grosso, good rain. Goiás, good rain. Less rain in Paraná and parts of Mato Grosso do Sul. That is likely correct. I think this is the area that's going to struggle here this week, and we showed in last video how the GFS is usually too light. Now, I want to show you, I'm going to zoom back out to the bigger view so they all are the same view. So keep an eye on Mato Grosso and Mato Grosso do Sul here. So that's the GFS. Here's the European through the same time. Notice heavy rains in Mato Grosso and Goiás, but lighter rains, Paraná up into Mato Grosso do Sul, right here. Canadian, same deal. That's going to be our dry spot here for the next 5 to 7 days. But keep an eye on north too. Look at how much more concentrated the coverage is of rain on the European, whereas the GFS is much too spotty. The Canadian's kind of in between. So the Canadian has always been a good gauge at what to expect, and I would still argue the European is better than the GFS here over the last couple of weeks and even months at this point. So moving forward, that would be our recommendation as well, to continue to use the Canadian and GFS models. Now, this weekend and into next week, we're going to still see the most rain up in central Brazil. There's going to be periodic lighter chances in parts of Argentina, but you look at the 5 to 10 day rainfall and you notice it is spotty in central and eastern Argentina where that concentration of production really is, right? So that is going to be an important topic moving forward, is to see how this rain verifies in the 5 to 10 day. You look at the GFS model and you notice more of the same. See how dry it is here in Argentina, in Rio Grande do Sul, over the next 5 days? Well, it's due to the MJO, and recently we were just in, well, it's coming up. We were just in phase 1. So I want to show you what that typically yields. Notice how it's wet here in November, right? But look at what phase 2 is that's coming up. It's drier. That's exactly what we're going to be seeing. And the key here is we're actually in an El Nino-like background state. And that's going to be confusing as all hell, I'm sure, for some people, because the La Nina is what's being thrown out there, right? We are in a La Nina, but the atmosphere isn't always coupled with the oceans. So we use angular momentum to determine that. And that's why we're using angular momentum greater than 0, because the angular momentum moving forward is going to be greater than 0. And the result here is that drier southern Brazil and eastern Argentina. And then as you head into phase 3, notice how perhaps here, phase 3 and 4, we get wetter again in those areas that will need that rain. So all of this is to say that a dry period coming up in Argentina in the 5 to 10 day makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And we have to use all of our data available to us. But what are we noticing here in some of the longer range timeframes? So here's what I mean. Here's your phase 2 MJO, the drier look. But look at what happens by the 10 to 15. See how the rain comes back in Argentina? That's the MJO kind of moving through phases 3 and 4. And it's unanimous on all the data. You see that? Unanimous. Wet, wet, wet. All 3 of them for that 10th through 15th of November. So all of this, again, is to say that we are not overly concerned about the dryness coming up. It's still early, but again, we're not seeing anything overly concerning. Now, it is going to be warm in Argentina moving over the next couple of weeks, similar to La Nina. So there's some signals of both going on here, but precipitation right now definitely leans towards El Nino tendencies because of the angular momentum trends that we just talked about. And the result is mirroring what we're thinking is coming up here via the MJO research we do. So again, next 5 days, pretty wet. That's our phase 1. 5 to 10 day, phase 2, pretty dry in Argentina, southern Brazil. And then our phase 3 and 4 come back and we trend a little wetter. So that's where we're heading moving forward. If you have questions about anything, let us know. And we will be back here next week with more information. And of course, our reports will continue for the rest of the week. Have a great day.